Gregory Graham will make sure that you're taken care of right away. 843-997-0751. That's Snag and Drag Towing Service at 843-997-0751. If you're looking for flowers for any occasion, the Daisy Fair Flowers is here to help you. They offer an enormous selection of flowers, gift baskets, and live plants for delivery in Conway, South Carolina. Serving Conway since 1980, the Daisy Fair Flowers, 1400 4th Avenue in Conway, or call 843-248-7222. You may also visit the web at thedaisyfairflowers.com. Looking for a full-service funeral home with a broad array of services? Look no further than McKiever Funeral Home at 1408 Race Path Avenue in Conway, South Carolina. They offer a wide variety of services, including traditional funerals, memorial services, and graveside ceremonies. You can reach them anytime, day or night, at 843-248-2706. That's 843-248-2706. McKiever Funeral Home in Conway, South Carolina. George L. Williams Jr. is CEO and licensed funeral director. Support the party that supports you. Vote for your own interests and those of your community. The choice is clear. Horry County Democratic Party. Take a stand. Register to vote 2020. This advertisement is paid for by the Horry County Democratic Party.
Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host Edward McQueen and April Garner.
Good afternoon. You're watching live the Whittemore Community Magazine Hour of Power right here on Facebook live. Today we're coming through our work on YouTube. Is that correct?
That is correct. Live on YouTube as well.
YouTube as well. And if you're watching, we want to welcome all of our viewers. Certainly hoping that what we say today and what as we continue on with the third part and final part of our community, of our police relations in our community, this is an appropriate time to talk about that now, we feel, as we've felt for the past 2 weeks. So just want to welcome everybody. And I'm your host, Ed McQueen. Of course, you can see our engineer in residence and co-host. That's my sister.
Yes, wearing a lot of hats these days.
April Garner. Mm-hmm. And our guest today is Chief Kelvin Waites, as you can see on the screen. He's going to, we're going to call it capping out things in terms of our series of topics like this for this particular topic, police relationships with our community. So welcome to the program, Chief Waites. And
thank you.
Chief Waites, as we usually start off, we start by sending our condolences, our well wishes, our best wishes, so to speak, to our sick and shut in, okay, all over the county and all over the world, okay. But for the immediate reasons in our immediate counties, and as we're broadcasting from Conway, South Carolina, we start by listing all of the nearest jurisdictions that hopefully everybody is viewing in on. So start with Allentown, Aner, Bucksport. We try. Look, we say alphabetical every time. Say alphabetical, but it doesn't pan out like that. Okay.
It never pans out alphabetically.
It pans out. Bucksport. And you know what? Brunswick, North Carolina. Okay.
Bayboro.
Okay.
Yeah. Burgess.
Burgess. Oh yeah, we're staying in the B's. Okay.
Yeah. As long as we can.
Yeah. Chapee, Sherrill, South Carolina. We'll get out of South Carolina in a few minutes, but you just want to make sure our local viewers are since our guest is local. Chief Waites, Chesterfield, Lone, South Carolina. Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach, South Myrtle Beach.
Poplar and Wampie.
Oh yeah.
Longs, Green Sea,
Loris.
Binkley, Loris, yes.
Yeah.
Whiteville, Tabor City.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Abel.
Just try to help you out.
Georgetown.
Yeah, Georgetown, Plantersville.
Pretty soon, Georgetown might become the capital of South Carolina. You never know.
God knows, the way things going, anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
Chief, you're welcome to chime in on the jurisdictions as well.
Yeah, help us with some of those jurisdictions over here. Look, the suburbs of Georgetown, man.
Well, you mentioned Chapee, you got Sampage, you got Plantersville.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Greentown.
Yeah.
Whites Creek.
Right.
Browns Ferry, Dunbar.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you can't leave out Hemingway and Johnsonville.
No, can't leave out Hemingway and Johnsonville.
That's Williamsburg County, but still.
That's right. That's right.
Andrews and all those places over there, Lane, South Carolina.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Go back to Annie Village, Jackson Village. I know you know
Village. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. All right. And so to the rest of the world, we send our condolences to all of you. I was sick and shut in, and you don't know how many there are in this world, but certainly we want to do that. And again, we welcome everybody to the show. And Chief Waites, our Chief of Police in the mighty city of Georgetown, South Carolina. Chief Waites is here with us today to, again, cap off our series of, not that that's less important, but I'm just saying it's capping off our series. We call it part 3 for community relations, and law enforcement. Okay, so in light of all of the things that have been happening nationwide and worldwide now regarding the police and community relations. So Chief Waites, those who around the world and around the United States and statewide who don't know who you are, can you give a little background of yourself?
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to. First of all, I thank y'all for inviting me here. I know y'all, y'all were pretty flexible in getting me on due to scheduling. So I really appreciate the fact that I was able to get on. But I was born in Harlem, New York, and lived there until I was about 10 years old. Moved to Charleston with my family and spent the rest of my time growing up in Charleston. Served some time in the military, United States Army. And after I got out of the Army, I came back to Georgetown and started my law enforcement career in 1997. And I figured out that law enforcement was my ministry, and I've been doing it ever since. I really enjoy serving the public and just working with and helping people, especially young people.
That's so important, man. Mm-hmm. That's really great to hear that your focus is on the young people. Because we've got a tough job ahead of us dealing with our young people.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially our males who seem to be the victims of this and victim of that in every way. And that's why I was so impressed about you being chief down in Georgetown, City of Georgetown. Chief Waites, we're just going to start. I'll start off with some typical questions that that we've had in the past two weeks, and some of the ones that have emailed possible questions to ask you. And the first thing that comes to their mind is the George Floyd situation. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's going to be, and they want to know, how what you would have done with your police department, how you would have handled that differently, and how would you instructed your police to handle that differently than how it came down.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can tell you, and I don't mind saying it, I've said it ever since the incident happened. It was wrong. It was murder. We all saw it, and it should have never ever happened. And the officers that stood by and watched it unfold, they were wrong as well. We don't train in the state of South Carolina. The Criminal Justice Academy doesn't train officers to do chokeholds. We're not trained to, put knees on anybody's neck. So, we deal. You asked me a pretty broad question, and so I'm gonna just take some time and answer it for you. But we our process starts when you say, how would we do it differently? It really starts through training in our hiring practices. Through training in our hiring practices. I see. Just as well as any other law enforcement executive in the area, I see myself as a gatekeeper to a certain degree to make sure that people who shouldn't be in our industry don't get in our industry. And we do this several ways, serious and thorough background checks, psychological evaluations, polygraph examinations. And like I said, it's our job to really make sure that we're not just rushing to hire people, and that we're hiring based on fit for the community and who's going to fit into a team atmosphere and push the agenda of community policing. You with me so far?
Oh yeah, we're following along.
All right, and then the other aspect is training. I mean, we train anywhere from use of force to de-escalation to dealing with mental patients in crisis. Training is a very important aspect of what we do, and we take it seriously. And then, there's also a complaint program, which a lot of people don't talk about it, but it's very important in terms of the credibility for your department. Mr. McQueen, if you come to me and you say, hey, Chief, I got a complaint, and I want you to take this seriously, and I want you to look into it. You expect me to objectively look into it, right? And if we're wrong, I'm going to say we're wrong, and we're going to fix it. But what you don't expect is for me to say, okay, yeah, I'll get back to you, Mr. McQueen, and you never hear from me again, right? Because when that happens, we lose credibility. Credibility. So we take, it doesn't matter who a complaint comes from in the community. We take it seriously. We look at it objectively, and if we're right, we're right. If we're wrong, we're wrong, and we learn from it, and we fix problems. And I thank people for complaining. A lot of times they say, "Well, Chief, I hate to bother you." I'm like, you cannot bother me. This is my job, and just like raising your kids, and we're not dealing with kids, but I'm just using this analogy. If your child is out in the community and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, you want somebody to come back and tell you as a parent. Right. And it's the same way. Like I said, we take complaints very serious. Yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Well, you answered mine. What about you, April?
I mean, that was a very thorough introduction and opening response to Brother Edwards' question. I think that this is like the third week that we've had these types of conversations, and I can't say that any response from any of our police chiefs has been different. Everyone definitely opposes the use of force, excessive use of force, and understands that there is an issue that needs to not only be addressed but handled pretty much. And I think that because this is the last episode of this particular series, one thing that we can talk about that could very well be different from everything else that we've talked about, is solutions. And how do we get there? We can go on and on and on about what happened. We know what happened to George Floyd, and we know that it was unfortunate. We know that it was out of line. But when it comes down to law enforcement solutions, I think that that's the part that we really need to move towards now. And like you said, there needs to be some movement. There needs to be action beyond the conversations, now that everyone is on the same page that yes, it was a problem and we got to fix it. So have you thought about what the possible solutions could be in law enforcement to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Well, in terms of, because there's a couple dynamics in terms of policies and procedures. We're a municipality, and so we work closely with the Municipal Association of South Carolina, and we are, as an agency, as well as other agencies in the state, looking at improving policies and procedures. But outside of policies and procedures, my question, and this is a question. My question is, how do you mitigate or evaluate hate? Right? How do you do that? Because the truth is, and not just law enforcement, but any job, you can get dressed up, you can come in, you can look clean cut, and there are professional interviewers out there, right? For every different industry. But how do we really mitigate and evaluate hatred? Right, because normally it hides its little head until it doesn't. You know what I mean? And so it goes back to what I talked about earlier in terms of leaders really stepping up and being who we should be in terms of gatekeepers, and not if we have problem employees, right? Of course, you want to salvage, employees if you think you can, but if you have problem employees, you try to get them help, and you just can't break through. Then it's really up to us to set the tone and make sure that we separate and get problem employees that are a danger to the community out of our organizations. Like I said, we can change all the policies we want, but hate is hate. And we got to figure out a way to really deal with that. And that part I don't have an answer for, because if I did, we could do some things and we'd be having a different conversation.
In society altogether, you're right. Do you believe that there are strong zero tolerance messages on these police forces, and not just a message of zero tolerance, but consequences if that's breached?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so. I know that the Municipal Association is strengthening its duty to intervene policy, which is big, because a lot of people believe that, well, you know what, if one officer says it, the other one's going to go along with it. They got each other's back and this and that. But we are here, and we should be here to protect everybody, white, green, yellow, purple, blue, law enforcement, non-law, it shouldn't matter. We are here to protect everybody. And so strengthening those policies, I think, will give law enforcement officers, more confidence in stepping forward and stepping up to the plate and doing the right thing.
I just want to remind our viewers that you can definitely join in the conversation. We'd love to see your comments and also your questions. If you have any for Chief Waites, just post them in the comment thread, and we will moderate those questions. And of course, Chief Waites can see any comments or questions that are coming through. So, he can take the initiative to answer them and respond to them as he likes. But, this is definitely a community show, and it's something that Whittemore Community Magazine is always poised to handle as far as your thoughts. And we want to hear from you. And of course, this is the final episode of our community relations and law enforcement discussion. Just our final episode for this particular series, but I'm sure that there will be many conversations to come as we deal through, with these issues that are happening right now. So Brother Edward, I'm gonna kind of flip it over to you if you have any questions or thoughts on what Chief Waites has shared with us.
Yeah, Chief, you mentioned resources, and each of our guests have focused on that a lot and said that was one of the constraints sometimes. So your resources compared to other or your immediate local jurisdictions, are they on par?
Well, I would say they're on par. When I think about resources, I would think about, for example, we had at one time a mental health professional working within our building with our officers every day, and it was awesome because we deal with, just like every other law enforcement agency in the area, we deal with people in mental crisis every single day. So to be able to have somebody right there that we could call that was at the office to respond and help us deal with crisis was great. I mean, it was really working. It was a great program, but I think at some point funding became an issue for mental health, and so we no longer have that anymore. And we dealt with a situation about a month ago where someone was threatening to set themselves on fire, and I can't think of a better time to have a mental health professional on scene. But like I said, funding ran out, and so that situation, that option wasn't there for us. Not the way it was initially. We had to make a phone call and actually get somebody to respond from, I believe, the Longs area, which took a while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you mention resources, those are the type of things that come to mind.
So the mental health contact person or the advisor that you had on staff. So I also had the impression that was for the police department to help the officers if they have a lapse, so to speak, in their normal everyday environment, and then they all of a sudden require mental health advice.
No, sir. In this particular case, we had someone not on our staff, but working through mental health as a task force that helped us deal with crisis in the community with citizens in mental health crisis.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So in your department now, I guess this also reflects upon your resources, but have you implemented any new reforms or extended training in your department as a result of the things that have been happening for the past 4 or 5 years?
Yes, sir. Well, we constantly train. We never stop training. But like I've mentioned, through the municipal association, we're looking at tightening up some policies as they relate to use of force, duty to intervene, and even body cameras. We're looking at implementing some new and more stringent policies.
Okay, what about the use of pepper spray and taser?
Okay.
What's your question?
What about it?
Yeah.
What about it, Mr. McQueen?
Has that changed? Do you get? I don't want to say it's an opportunity, but it's maybe a bad opportunity to use taser and pepper spray often. Do you get? You have to.
We normally we don't have that many taser incidents over the course of the year. And like I told you, we train. We constantly train, and I can give you an example of. I mentioned earlier that we had somebody who threatened to set themselves on fire, and so the officers responded, and they knew because of their training that the taser was not an option. The taser was not an option because what would have happened? They were okay. And so, like I said, that's just an example that we really do train all the time, year round, and but we do have access to tasers to use them.
Chief, I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
So why was the chokehold so popular one time? If not the chokehold, you're putting the knee on the victim's neck. Was that a sure way of that person not moving? Is that why it was used in the past so much?
Well, Mr. McQueen, I can't answer that because I wasn't trained in 1997 to do it, and the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy doesn't train. They don't train that tactic.
Okay.
So I can't answer that question.
I would hope that's not a tactic that they're trained to
Right.
use. Yeah. I guess it kind of goes back to what you were talking about earlier, as far as the intent of the officer or the intent of the person who's using that particular technique. Because it appears that Officer Chauvin was using something that definitely was unethical in terms of that particular procedure. And you were just talking about, Brother Edward just asked about pepper spray and that type of thing. Someone texted me earlier, wanted me to ask this question about the report that came out regarding Elijah McClain and the use of ketamine, which is a sedative. And the question is, does the state of South Carolina or Georgetown even allow officers to instruct EMS to give suspects sedatives like ketamine? Is that a practice? Is that something that you know of that comes from? No, not at all.
No, ma'am. No, we don't. We don't. When EMS gets on scene, that's their scene. We don't regulate or instruct them to do anything other than render aid. No.
There's a question from one of our viewers. Thank you, Carlos Parker, for watching. In a comment that's kind of embedded in it. He says he's seen posts about the length of training for police. Should there be a national conversation about the length of training? Do you think that has any bearing on whether or not a police officer is ready to handle, situations that escalate, or just even to know how to deal with certain situations from a cultural standpoint? Right.
I believe so. I mean, I believe so, because the truth is, just like school, people learn at different rates, right? And just because you go through the way the academy is set up now, you do 4 weeks at your department, and then you do 8 weeks at the academy. When you come back, you should anyway. We do at the Georgetown Police Department, training, FTO training. That could last up to 6 weeks or even longer. There's no rush. I tell people all the time, a lot of folks think that when officers go to the police academy and, they make it through and they graduate, that they're immediately put on the street. And that's not the case. They have to go through a field training officers program. Like I said, that could last at the minimum 6 weeks. If we see that, the officer's not moving along and progressing, we have the option to extend that. But I think a national conversation about training for our industry straight across the board would be beneficial.
So, of course, the big part of this discussion has been all about community relations and what law enforcement agencies or departments are doing to make sure that you maintain the integrity of your departments, but also that, in the eyes of the community that you protect and serve, that there's still trust in, law enforcement. So, what have you seen and what have you heard from your community in terms of what people are saying they need to hear and need to see to believe in what you all are doing?
Right. Well, I can tell you, Miss April, that, as a kid, I was taught that you prepare for war during the time of peace. And so when chaos comes, right, and tragedy and crisis comes, is not the time to be trying to build relationships, right? Of course, it's going to happen and relationships going to form organically, but all of that work should be happening way ahead of time. You know what I mean? It really should be happening way ahead of time. And I think, one of my greatest responsibilities is to be at the tip of that spear in terms of engaging the community. I can't be a chief that you never see. You know what I mean? I can't be a chief that the officers don't see engage in the community. I set the tone for that. I have a lot to do with the culture at my police department, just like culture is a very, very,
Mm-hmm.
you can have a policy manual, right? But if the culture that's entertained
That's
and
right.
fostered in an agency isn't where it needs to be, things are going to go sideways.
Mm-hmm.
So, building those relationships early is important, and we work hard to try to do it, and we do it. The COVID's kind of slowed us down in terms of different things that we used to do, but we've done everything from coaching little league football teams to sponsoring midnight basketball with the local NAACP, the Salvation Army, to having Easter egg hunts for the kids to come to the police department, National Night Out. All of these things. Even now, we used to do a tie Tuesday, where we would bring in young people, and whoever wanted to learn how to tie a tie, we just bring a bunch of ties and take the time and just hang out with them and talk and chat. But all of those things go to building the trust and building the relationship, because people don't realize that trust is it's a fragile thing, right? You could trust me right now in April, in 10 minutes from now, that trust is gone.
That's right.
And so for our industry right now, it's important for us as an industry to realize that we need to do a better job of listening. We need to do a better job of listening, and not just listening to hear, but listening to understand. Not just listening with our ears, but listening with our hearts. You know what I mean? How many times, Mr. McQueen, have you rode down the road and you heard a song on the radio, and it sounded pretty good, right? You kind of nodded your head a little bit, and then you realize that at the end of the song, you were so fascinated with the beat, you don't even really know the words. You don't even know what the song was about. That ever happened to you? But we have to listen to understand,
Right?
And I realize that. But those are some of the things that we do to engage the community and try to build trust ahead of time. And the officers understand. I try to make them understand that things happen. We live in a global society, right? So if something happens in El Segundo, California, we may get looked at sideways here.
Correct.
We have to go out every day, every time we put the uniform on, every time we put the badge on, every time we get in that car, and we have to build trust every day. Doesn't seem fair, but that's what we signed up for, and that's part, that's part of what this industry is going through. But those are some of the things that we do to try to build trust and engage the community.
You're right. Law enforcement is kind of seen as a universal brand. It doesn't matter where it happens. Right. It affects all of you. You all wear the blue. So, there's that brotherhood, so to say.
But that hit me real hard. And I was in Horry County when it did. It was around, I think it was 2016. Bike Week was coming up, and I was on Miss Claudine Schofield's show. Sound off, and we were talking, and during that time, a lot of things were going on around the country, just like now. We were specifically talking about Michael Brown, and there was a young man on the show, very studious, very sharp, and we were talking, and he said, "Hey, I don't trust the police. I just don't trust them." And that hit me kind of hard. I'm like, okay, young man, why? And I talked to him after the show, and he said, I said, "Have you ever had a bad interaction with law enforcement locally?" "No, sir." I said, "Has any law enforcement, the officers that you know of here, done anything to disrespect or hurt your family?" He said, "No, sir." But it was about what he was seeing around the country that was affecting the way he felt about law enforcement, and we have to understand that. You know what I mean? We have to understand that, and like I said, do a better job of listening and help them break them walls down.
I think that's interesting because that's also what the Black community wants other people to understand. It's the same. It's really relative. It's the same thing that because it does affect our community and our culture primarily. When one hurts, we all hurt, or we all feel it. And that's why, there was an extension of demonstrations and protests and everything else to follow, regardless of whether or not it happened right here in our backyards. And so, everyone is vested in it simply because of how we all relate. There's a question coming from one of our viewers. Thank you, Ms. McKiever, for watching today. After the George Floyd incident, did your department have to do anything differently than before?
We, there was a national cry for, and several emails and different things going back and forth about certain policies that needed to be in place. And our policies were in line. We had one policy that was very vague, that we needed to address, and we did. But one thing that we do is we talk about these issues, right? So we don't come to work and something happens, with the magnitude of the tragedy that happened to George Floyd, and we act like we go about our business and act like it didn't happen. We talk about these things, and and I communicate with the department, because it is important for them to know where the leader stands on topics like this, because that goes into the culture. People have to understand what's allowed, what's entertained, and we know that if the culture is loose, then people will push the envelope.
Yeah, absolutely. April, you want to take a break?
Yeah, we can go to a quick break. And for our viewers, we're just going to acknowledge our sponsors. So, of course, we would like for you to just kind of stick around for a minute, and also give Chief Waites a minute to catch his breath. Some great information. So we definitely will be right back. Do you need to complete your diploma or get your GED? Stop putting your future on hold. Contact the Horry County Adult Education Centers today. With 2 offices in Conway and Myrtle Beach, you'll be well on your way to a new career. The Conway Education Center is at 843-488-6200, or the Myrtle Beach Family Learning Center is at 843-839-5400. You can also visit the website at hcae.horrycountyschools.net. Heating unit not working? Need answers right away? Call Quick Services Heating and Air Conditioning for comfort in a hurry. Quick Services Heating and Air LLC is the right choice for you. Call Kenya and Nina Keith at 843-488-1492. Residential or commercial financing available. You can also visit their website at www.quickserviceshvac.com. That's KWIK serviceshvac.com. Quick Services Heating and Air LLC, the right choice for you. Serving Horry County for over 79 years, Palmetto Chevrolet in downtown Conway has just what you need to find new roads. Come through and browse, make your selection, and find new roads right away. Palmetto Chevrolet, 1122 4th Avenue, downtown Conway. You can also visit palmettochevrolet.com or call the service center at 843-248-4283. Palmetto Chevrolet, find new roads. Matthew and Beatrice Rue left a rich legacy of funeral home services in the capable hands of Atu and Tammy Williams. Ocean View Funeral Homes and Cremation Services, with 2 chapels serving the Horry County area. They offer full-service funeral and cremation services with no hidden fees. Call for details. The Conway Chapel is 843-248-5376. The Myrtle Beach Chapel is 843-916-8929. They offer affordable, professional, and caring full-service packages. Ocean View Funeral Homes and Cremation Services.
Could I just interject here while we got this opportunity, and we are talking with policemen, Miss Joella did some good research on the first Black policeman in New York City, since you were from Harlem. Chief Waites. And she looked it up and she did some research. It was Samuel Jesse Battle. And from January 16, 1883, and he died in 1966. He was the first Black police officer in New York City after attending segregated schools in North Carolina. he moved north, first to Connecticut, then New York City, where he took a job as a train porter and began studying for the New York City Police Department Civil Service exam. He was sworn in March 6, 1911. And I have that right. Yeah, 1911. Yep. 1911. So I just want to throw a little bit of that black. We call it black.
I appreciate that. Yes, sir.
And we're gonna start having this on a continuing basis, a Black History moment. Okay, so hopefully that kind of kicks things off too. So special thanks to Mrs. Joella McQueen, who did some fantastic research, and yeah. So there you go. Okay. If you don't have any questions for Chief Waites, I'd like to, ask another question here that was kind of text. Yeah. What is the makeup? What is the racial makeup of the Georgetown Police Department?
We excuse me. We are about 40% African American, so we're pretty diverse. When I first came in, when I was first here in 2008, I was the captain of the patrol division, and I was the only minority on the patrol division at that time. So we've come a long way in terms of diversity and different genders.
So what's the total count of your, the number of police you have at the expense of, for the city?
35. We have 35 positions. Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's not bad for Georgetown, right? I mean, in terms of population.
No, sir. No, that's not bad at all.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. Well, that's a plus. And do you have a lot of most police departments that have been explained to us since we started the series? They're high up on and they should be on the standards that they place in order to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. I guess you can't blame them for that. You want the best.
Yes.
One time, there was a time when, in order to meet the diversity goals, a number of years back, they implemented in some departments implemented a affirmative action. Mm-hmm. That probably doesn't come in. That word is an enigma to some people, to some jurisdictions. What do you think about that? I mean, of course, you're at 40%. Yeah, you probably don't have to worry about that. I mean, but there are some jurisdictions where the diversity is really, really lacking. Okay.
Yeah.
And especially on the streets, when you see policemen on the streets, that's really where we need. Okay, in these communities, not behind the desk and in some office someplace. Yeah, that's the job, of course, but the most effective, especially in light of what's going on now, which has permeated into a racial thing, okay? Because always, from what we've seen on videos, is always the white officer, with the black civilian being the victim, so to speak. Okay, so there should be a way of addressing that. I've been saying for the past 2 or 3 weeks that if they had community organizations or community patrols, is that something that you all could be adaptive to, or you would be attracted to?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of ways to do it. We most communities in this region have some type of crime watch program set up, kind of coordinated by their law enforcement agency. We also have a police community advisory board who they actually sit on hiring panels for us, promotion testing. We bring them in from the community to help us hire, because just like you said, I mean, a long time ago, it was all about, you went down the list, whoever's scored the highest on the test, that's who you hired. But now it's so important to find that applicant who was, yes, highly qualified, but is a good fit for the community. And that's that is extremely important, because my job as a law enforcement executive is to make sure that we're doing the best we can with what we have, but we definitely want to look like the community to a certain degree that we're called to serve, because it's just more, things are more effective that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you want the best for your department. I know that. To maintain that good diversity that you all have existing, are you doing things to make sure that that's sustainable for the Georgetown area?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we try to make sure that our we try to stay competitive in terms of pay in the region. And there are also other incentives as well as we promote officers going back to school and taking classes. The city gives that incentive to them and pays for some of that schooling as well. And we aggressively recruit as well. So we feel pretty good about where we are in terms of diversity, and moving forward, we're going to keep doing the same things.
So what is the starting salary of a Georgetown police officer?
Right now, it's around $34,000 right now a year.
Oh, well, yeah, based on what we've heard, April, that's competitive, isn't it? Based on
it's actually comparable to you kind of on an even playing field with Darlington, but Horry County was a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't compete with Myrtle Beach.
Right.
But that's which like I said, it's pretty competitive. Pretty competitive.
Yeah. The dynamics will probably force that child to change, so that you will be competitive.
Yeah.
There, I think. You're there's an area that's coming back up 17. You got Plantersville, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coming back up 17. Is that the next
701? Plantersville 701 comes up through runs
right
pretty much.
Oh, that's 7. Yeah.
701.
Yeah, Plantersville. That is that police force, as much as you know about that, is that under the Hemingway Police Department, or is that has its own?
Are you talking about coming up from Conway from the backside into Georgetown?
From Georgetown coming up 701.
Yeah, that's Georgetown County. Yeah, that's the county sheriff's office, Georgetown County.
Yeah. Okay, so all right.
Yeah. And they run all the way up to the Johanna Bridge. And,
okay.
After the bridge, Horry County takes over.
Okay, so that's the dividing point. That's the dividing point in the next county.
Yes. Yeah.
You're saying that's for Georgetown County, but for City of Georgetown, are you Georgetown proper, or what is your perimeter?
Our perimeter, and we have about 7.7 miles, but we start, if you're coming in on 701, right around the Walmart light is where the city starts.
Yeah. Okay. Starts at the Walmart, y'all. Remember that. The Walmart. Be careful. Okay.
Yeah. That must be the pinpoint, man. It must be the focal point. Walmart light.
Yeah.
Or the Walmart shopping center. What have you?
Chief Waites, you may have touched upon this particular question, but there is another question in the thread. Is there anything that you would like to implement to your department and community that will help to address community concerns?
Yes, we would like to strengthen our Crime Watch program, because it's really not our program; it's the community's program, and a lot of times it's hard to get everybody involved. You know what I mean? Because and there's so much put on law enforcement, and that's as it should be. But we all have a responsibility and a job in terms of taking care of our community. And so many times, what happens is, today anyway, when I was growing up in Charleston, I remember one time I lost my key. I'm in middle school, I lost my key. So, on my way to school that morning, I cracked the window in my room, thinking that I didn't want to tell my parents I lost that key. I get home, I go through the window, thought everything was cool. Parents got home, and we had problems because the phone rang. And one of my neighbors saw me. They saw me and they said, "Hey, I know it was Kevin, but you know what? If he's doing that, then he's inviting other people, to break into your house, because if I see him," you know what I'm saying? And so my point is, April, is that a lot of times today we've gotten away from the village. You know what I mean? We've gotten away from the village, where if it's not on my property, it's not on my property. I ain't worrying about it until, you know what I'm saying? And so from my perspective, yes, as law enforcement, we have work to do. I told you, we got to listen better. We need to strengthen our policies. We got work to do. But at the same time, we all need to step our games up. We all need to step our games up. So to answer your question, I would like to see communities work closer with their law enforcement agency, and easier said than done, right? Because the trust is damaged. The trust is damaged. And so, like they used to say back in the day, "Hey, I'll meet you halfway, then we can make something happen." I realize that we have to reach further, right? We have to reach further. The trust is diminished, and we have to reach further. So we have to come up with creative ways to continue to engage. We have to get involved with our nonprofits in the area to make sure that we get an opportunity to interact and serve and work with the people, their clients. And so we just have to get on the same page, and we have to go back to the village concept.
Yeah, that's absolutely been mentioned before as well. Just getting everyone engaged.
That's why you got right outside of Georgetown, Annie Village and Jackson Village.
Annie Village, that's right. That's right.
Different villages there, man. Really, and they get a lot of stuff done, man. They do. We get a lot of stuff done. If people would really want to see a role model or a model for a typical village, go right there on Jackson Village Road and Annie Village, and all that is Plantersville, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
But, Chief Waites, speaking.
Go ahead.
Speaking of the organizations that you would like to work with or think could possibly help lead the charge, what are some organizations that you can think of that have actually stepped up to do just that, and not only create conversations in the community, but also has any organization approached you or even law enforcement with solutions that have come from the community and ways to work more cohesively with law enforcement?
Yes. I'll say that our local NAACP has really stepped up to the plate and said, "Look, we have a young people's group. They have a lot to say, and we need to open up the lines of communication." And so we've been talking through Zoom calls and talking individually and talking about different things we can do to get everybody at the table, to just see if for one time, Mr. McQueen and Miss April, that we could all somehow find a way to work together, just one time, and just see what happens. So they've been instrumental in trying to make that happen. The Salvation Army has always been one of our biggest partners. They never tell us no. If we call them, they are there. United Way is working to form a Young People's Alliance, throughout Georgetown County. But the nonprofits are very powerful, and I know they are very powerful. And we don't always have access to their clients, and we need to do a better job. And we've asked them locally to find ways to facilitate things for us to be involved with them. But those are just some of the agencies, and I didn't leave anybody out because there's several. But those are the few that really come to mind: NAACP, Salvation Army, United Way, as well as many others.
And the common denominator, you talked about the young people, getting the young people involved in the conversation and making sure that they have an arm that extends out to that particular age group, because that definitely is a very energized and becoming more socially conscious age group. And so we have to have conversations with, the young people. Another question that's come in: have you interacted with the schools and in what way?
We of course we interact with them through our SROs. We have SROs, which everybody's been out of school, so but they partner with us with our midnight basketball. Our superintendent supported the program, which it benefited him too, because those were his kids that come. We run that program during the summertime from 9 p.m. to 12 p.m. We bring the kids in, we feed them, we have a DJ, we let them play basketball. And of course, since we have a captive audience to get in there and do what they want to do, we take about 30 minutes to sit them down and have those talks, those life talks, those, we believe in you talks, those encouragement type talks. And the school district has been very supportive in anything we've asked them to do.
Absolutely.
Sounds great. Brother Eric, you want to take another quick commercial break and then come back and you do the wrap up?
Yep, let's do that. I know the chief's got to go in and start enforcing some laws.
Exactly. All right, we'll take another quick commercial break. Viewers, please stand by. We'll be right back. For all of your insurance needs, home, auto, and life, see how it feels to be on a #1 team with Tony McAfee of State Farm Insurance. Call Tony at 843-903-7800 or visit him at 3888 Renee Drive in Myrtle Beach. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Looking to start a new career? Train to work in Myrtle Beach. Classes starting soon. Free to eligible participants. Short term, 3 weeks or less in hospitality, culinary, electrical, plumbing, and more. At Horry Georgetown Technical College. There's more. Continuing education at 843-477-2020. Horry Georgetown Technical College, where there's more. Enjoy soul food the way your mama made it. You'll be surrounded by some of the best food in Horry County and affordable prices. Blue plate specials, senior plates, and more. Daily specials at Big Mike's Soul Food. Big Mike's Soul Food is located at 504 16th Avenue in Myrtle Beach. You can call your order in at 843-712-2048 or visit BigMikeSoulFood.net to find out about the latest specials. Big Mike's Soul Food. Soul food, the way your mama made it. Treating conditions from A to Z. Schedule an appointment today. Ask about acceptable insurance coverage at Waccamaw Primary Care, 660 Singleton Ridge Road, Conway, South Carolina. Dr. Winston D. McKiever Jr., a trusted and reputable source in Horry County and beyond, has all you need for family practice and sports medicine. Call 843-234-4362 to schedule your appointment today. Waccamaw Primary Care, 660 Singleton Ridge Road, Suite A, Conway, South Carolina, 843-234-4362. All right, we're back. Brother Eric, before you wrap it up, we've got a couple of questions that have come through.
Yeah, I just got a clarification. Somebody just texted me a clarification about the Plantersville community. Said that the Plantersville community is really consists of Jackson Village, St. Paul's Village, which I've never heard of.
St. Paul's Village, okay.
And Annie Village. So where is St. Paul's Village?
St. Paul would be if you're traveling towards Conway. If you're traveling towards Conway and you get up in that Johanna section, you take a right turn on Exodus Drive, and you would run right into St. Paul, the St. Paul area, kind of from the backside.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Well, okay.
Got that clarity, so we'll add them to the list. Make sure we call St. Paul's Village in the next broadcast.
Yeah, because if they had enough nerve to text me and clarify that, then that means that they want to be added to the list for next broadcast.
Right. Chief Waites, someone just texted me a question. And since our young Blacks and people of color seem to be the target of so much hate, injustice, and violence, what is some advice for us to stay safe and alive and still be able to express our concerns in peace?
Well, I did a Zoom call at 11 o'clock this morning with some middle schoolers, and that was one of the questions that came up. And we talked about, and I told them, I said, I'm gonna tell you, I have a daughter and a son, and so, one thing that I did not mention is that, and sometimes people ask, how does all of this affect me? Well, it affects me several different ways, and I've said this in the past that sometimes, and I'm ashamed to say it, but even though I'm a police chief, sometimes when my kids leave the house, I'm worried, just like everybody else. I'm African American first, and so I tell people sometimes that I'm black and blue. I'm African American first, but I'm law enforcement at the same time. But I tell my kids that when you're out and about, for whatever reason, if you have an encounter with law enforcement, you want to stop in a well-lit area, right? And you want to, I tell my kids that their registration and all of that stuff needs to be in the visor right above their head, very close by, so they don't have to be making a bunch of movements. And they keep their hands on the steering wheel, and that they're respectful. And even if you feel like you've been stopped, for an inappropriate reason, or the officer's wrong, the worst thing you can try to do is be argumentative or confrontational. Just be respectful and don't try to have court on the side of the road. But get your ducks in a row, document, get the officer's name, get the officer's badge number, so we can do what we talked about at the beginning of this program and file that formal complaint if it needs to be filed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good advice. There's also another question about support from the religious community. Have you received a lot of support or had any conversations from clergy, ministers in the Georgetown area? Or have you seen any activity as far as their involvement in the discussion?
Well, they're always here, and we have a pretty strong municipal association that consists of several different churches that meet monthly, and we get to that meeting as much as we can. But they're always supportive. They're always supportive. And I tell you, I just want to let people know that I'm proud of Georgetown. I'm proud of Georgetown. Just like every other place we've had protests. They've been peaceful, and I support that 100% because I believe that people should be able to exercise their constitutional rights. And so I'm just proud of Georgetown and look forward to continuing to work with the community.
Yeah, we're proud of Georgetown too. But as you know, what they say is that half of Conway came from Georgetown.
Okay.
I know I have a Georgetown connection, definitely.
Yeah. But I will, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, but thank you for that question from Reverend Jerry Falk and Sister Janara. They're watching with and tuning in with us today. Really do appreciate it. Yeah.
That's my cousin.
That's your cousin, really? Whoa. Okay. Jerry Falk is your cousin or Janara? Which one?
Reverend Jerry Falk. We're connected.
Reverend Jerry Falk. Okay.
Mm-hmm. We are connected.
Small world.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely. Well, Brother Edward, do you have any other questions? If not, you want to kind of wrap it up. It's been a great discussion, a great way to end our series.
While it seems that Chief Waites knows a lot of people, something big happened in Bucksport here, man, this past Saturday. The Bucksport community decided to shower the high school class of 2020, and they did something. It was their first time, and they didn't know how well it was going to work out, but it was successful. We're not able to show photos right at the moment, but I think we can upload them on our website, right, April?
Yeah, I'll put something together and post it to the website, wcmagazine.net.
Right. And just briefly, a unique is just committee members, and you probably know them, Chief Waites, Ms. Marlo Frazier, Betty Goss, Joyce Cofield, Gwen Mishu, Tashima Kelly, and Yamina Jordan. They got together and put together something, man, that was really fantastic. Lined up all of the seniors in Bucksport area. in the area, and around the Frazier Center, around that horseshoe there in the Frazier Center, and they had their photos on beside them, and they stood there proud with a lot of pride, just out there for the photos. And at the same time, they call it a graduation parade, is what they called it. It was organized. So, but in the midst of this organization, there was another celebration, and I just want to have to bring this up. The former assistant principal at Whittemore Park Middle School, Miss Demetrius Williams, was celebrating. She was because she had just got promoted to the head principal of Early College High School.
Wow!
And we want to extend our congratulations to her. Yeah. Absolutely. So they took that time to incorporate a celebration for her there at the Jane Frazier Center, which is a beautiful center, by the way. And I'm sure you know that. Yeah. She's been promoted to the head principal at the Early College High School, and she's from the Bucksport community. Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's awesome.
And so the committee decided to honor her and then celebrate her as well at the same time. So the 2020 graduation parade was a success. And the parents, man, the cars were lined up, bringing their children, and those parents who did not have their senior students there, they were lined up just to follow a parade and just wave at the young men, young boys and girls who were standing there who graduated with some had a uniform, the cap and gown, and some not. But it was so moving that I just had to bring it up on this broadcast, and it's unfortunately we didn't have enough time to incorporate the photos, and also there's a video clip that hopefully we can have our viewers to take a look at it on our website, wcmagazine.net. Some of the community organization donated cash. I mean, they just came out and just passed out cash money, gift cards, and goodie bags
awesome.
By the committee members. Again, and kudos to these committee members. I tell you, I mean, they had it going. Okay, I gotta call their names again. Miss Betty Goss is the right at the center, and
she's watching today. I think she's watching.
And kudos to Ms. Goss and Ms. Marlo Frazier, Josh Cofield, Gwen Mishu, Tashima Kelly, and Yamina Jordan. Congratulations to you all of you did a fantastic job, man. You're going to see it hopefully on our website. So God bless you.
Yeah, awesome. You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see all of these celebrations become a tradition.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I know we're doing some special things because of COVID and restrictions on graduation, but why not just make it a tradition from now on? And each community celebrate their graduates and just
absolutely. I don't know why that can't happen again, even if the virus fades away. And they have
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, make it a tradition.
Celebration at schools, the local schools or whatever. After you finish, go back into the neighborhood. Yeah. Okay, and wherever these graduates are from, let's shower them with some gifts and cards and so forth.
You enjoyed that part, didn't you?
It was just so fulfilling, and I was just so impressed with the young people, and they were eager to do that.
And that community needs it. Bucksport community needs so much uplift right now. They're going through a lot, and so I think that's beautiful that they put that together. So yeah, we'll definitely celebrate them on the website and our Facebook page. We'll add it to the Facebook page. Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, Chief Waites, thank you so much for joining us today. Really do appreciate it. Great conversation. And we're going to have you back to talk about some other things that don't have anything to do with law enforcement, but have everything to do with you. And you know what I'm talking about. Right. Yeah. We'll have you back.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh, he has another talent that definitely is some, I've been following it. I think he does a tremendous job with some leadership training and some other things that he does. Yeah, so we'll have him back to maybe we'll do a little something about that. Okay,
I just got another text. If you got time, Chief. Somebody asked that the South Carolina Department of Justice awarded 13 police departments throughout South Carolina with more than $8 million. Did Georgetown get any part of that?
We are still waiting to hear back. We did put in for a grant recently, but we're still waiting to hear back. Hadn't heard back yet.
Mhm.
Okay. That's hopefully that satisfies the request. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say hopefully that's coming soon because I think Horry County got theirs. So yeah, make Georgetown County part of that.
Yeah,
that
right.
handout. That support. Absolutely.
Let's do it. So thank you so much, Chief Waites.
Yeah, thank you.
I really got a lot out of this, a lot of information each time that we've had this series. So to our listeners, to our viewers, we certainly appreciate you tuning in, and thanks for the questions and the comments. I'm sure there were probably a bit more, but people didn't know how to say it. They'll catch me on the street. I mean, they'll catch me there. And then they'll say, "Why didn't you say so and so?" Yeah, but that's expected anyway.
Yeah.
So stay.
And we definitely want everyone to be safe going into this 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
Woo, yeah, I don't know what it's going to look like in Horry and Georgetown counties, but I can guess that we'll probably have a ton of visitors, which means we need to be extra cautious, especially because COVID-19 is very real. Coronavirus is still here and doing its thing. So mask up, wash your hands, social distancing, all of the above. Make sure you guys are doing that, and just stay safe, everyone.
And then just to remind everyone that even though you're a young person, you're not in the most vulnerable category. But when you get it and you take it back to an elderly person, maybe your grandmother, or your grandfather, those are the ones who are vulnerable. Okay, you can have it and not know it. I mean, probably don't feel any symptoms right away. But you get back home, or you get back to one of your relatives' homes, your grandmother, grandfather, anybody, passing the 80s, something like that, they catch on to it quickly. And we just want to send that warning out to people and to be careful and think about that. But, think about that. So keep your mask on.
Mm-hmm.
All we can say.
Exactly. All right. Well, it's been great. Thank you so much for tuning in. We do appreciate it. And Chief Waites, you remain safe.
All right.
And
Thank
keep
you.
doing all the wonderful things you're doing in Georgetown. Absolutely. Right. Brother Eric, you ready to close it out?
Well, I wanted to, I wanted to let the people know how they can, the Whittemore Community Magazine is going to be, maybe we're going to try and get a hard copies out this time. So so please bear with us, and we'll try our very best. As you can see on the screen, is how you can get you can subscribe. Just make your check money order payable to the Whittemore Community Magazine and send it to the Whittemore Community Magazine, P.O. Box 2391, Conway, South Carolina. Our treasurer on the right is Jenna Falk. Will definitely advise. She will straighten things out to let us know, where to subscribe. Okay, 1 year donation on printed for those printed copies is just $70. If we have to send them by postage, it's $95 because of the handling costs and all that. So electronic copies, $35. Okay, so please visit the website www.wcmagazine.net. God bless everybody. See you next week, 7 p.m. Thank you so much, Chief.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you for watching the Whittemore Community Magazine's Hour of Power Live on Facebook with your host, Edward McQueen